Hello everyone, I'm starting a new series on this game called Hero's Adventure Road to Passion. We'll see how it turns out. I've already started playing this game quite a bit. I've got over 100 or so hours on it so far, and I have a fresh account here, basically just to have like a first run through of the game again. And I'm going to be doing kind of a pseudo guide playthrough where I kind of just go through and do a couple specific things, and then it'll be a bit more clear on how to do it yourself. But for the most part, the idea is just for me to play the way I like to play personally. And so I'll explain a lot of the game mechanics and my goals in the game as we go, just so that it's easy to keep up with. But it's not going to be a first-time playthrough sort of deal, as I have way too much to even feign that kind of playthrough. So I'm not going to be playing the default main story. I'm going to be doing kind of a more get as much completion in one run as possible. So the things I'm looking to try to do in this save file, I suppose, is get bonds with all the major with all the main heroines, join all sects, all sect missions that are possible, and all sect endings that are possible, including exterminating all the sects and the three original base endings. And then I'll see from there, because I don't actually have too much time in the end game of this. I might try the Penglai DLC and some other things, just to actually get some info out there. I do have all the DLCs, so I will be playing full content. And I suppose I'll start by making a character. I'll be playing, I suppose normal is a good way to start. The differences between the different difficulties is, as you can see here, the enemies will be buffed, quite obviously. So here, enemy buffs for easy mode, for instance, is that they do half damage, and they take 1.5x damage, and they have their base stats reduced by 50%, but you have a 1x XP multiplier, and so these will inversely apply at each incremental difficulty. So for normal, it's 25% reduce on their tankiness and their damage, and you get 50% more XP. And then once you start going into hard, then the difficulty is now against you. So the enemies are stronger than base, and in this case you have an additional penalty of the martial arts with game time. And then Nightmare gets really rough. You have special effects that you have to worry about. And then free mode, as you can see here, is not unlocked yet. It's basically you have to beat the game first to unlock it, and it's Nightmare on steroids. It starts harder than Nightmare by a factor of already 3 times or so, and you can put it to hundreds of times harder than Nightmare. It's definitely a mode more so meant for playing a very specific min-maxed way, just to see if you can achieve it, rather than what I'm going to be doing, which is a bit more casual and tame and trying to do what I enjoy to do. So we'll start with normal and just kind of go from there. Alright, so here is the character customization screen. In this game, you do have a default character. You play as, in terms of canon name, his name is Shrimp Vinegar. Don't ask me why, but yes, the canon name of the main character is Shrimp Vinegar. You'll see here, at the top, you have starting martial arts. In this game, there are a plethora of different arts you can use. The default here, as you can see, is Fist. It's a generic martial art that has a single line attack area, and usually attacks a single target, as you can see by the graphic here. Other martial arts are going to be Sword, Saber, or also called Blade, Dagger, or also called Knife, Fan, Pen, Staff, Spear, Flute, Lute, and Zither. So in terms of the martial arts, when you're looking at your martial art level, the Fist is fist unique, sword is sword unique, the blade, the saber is unique, and then the dagger, fan, and pen all are under the short name. So those are all tied in terms of your level with those weapons. The staff and spear are both long weapons, and then the flute, lute, and zither are all musical weapons. So those all have their similar tides. At the bottom left here, we'll see our stats. The available points here for a very new character is 15. And then you can see the 5 different stat profiles. We have strength. You get special benefits for each stat when you get either 10 or 25. So for strength, you get critical damage increase and basic attack damage increase. At the 2 breakpoints, for constitution, you get max HP increase and then defense increase. Dexterity is going to be, I guess it's not really well said here, but it's a chi accumulation. You start from 100, and then the second one is when evading, you get 150 points of chi. For intelligence, you get more experience, or you get reduced experience needed for learning martial arts, and reduced MP. I don't know exactly what MP stands for in this situation. I should actually kind of look into that. But MP is basically your mana or martial power, whatever you want to call it. And so your martial or your MP usage is lowered by 20%, and then at the second tier, your skills increase by 50%. We'll go over that later. And then luck, at the first breakpoint, you get 50% chance for an extra drop, and at the second breakpoint, you get combo and counter increase, which I'll also go over later. At the right side here, we have the traits. So you start with 30 points in traits and a selection of default unlocked traits. You can customize your character with any combination, so long as they do not surpass your current achievement points. And you have a battle section and an other section for out of battle traits. I won't go through all of them. I'll go through some of the more prominent ones. So Loner and Lone Wanderer are for playstyles where you don't want to use allies. Perfect Adaptation is a pretty popular one when using external skills. So it's like specific, like if you use named attacks, basically any non-basic attack, your weapon type is not a restriction. So ordinarily, if you try to use a staff attack while wielding a dagger, you would be unable to. This lets you override that, so you no longer need to have a staff equipped to use a dagger skill, and vice versa. Quick Recover is just basically some free regeneration after fights. Secret Guardian, you got a guy who helps you out when you get low HP. Here, recovery effects increase by 100%. Some of these are just like pretty straightforward. Immunities. You'll see talents. So talents is when you start with an amount of points in that category. So you can get music, toxicology, all the different weapon types. And then there are also other ones here, like Unique Skeleton, that just give you base stat increases. These are generally really strong, unless you need your base stats to be a certain point value for whatever reason. And then you get like some more miscellaneous ones, like gain 15% more spirit. I'll explain spirit a bit more later, but spirit is essentially used for ultimate attacks. And here under the other, we have the non-battle related ones. So things like Analyzing is experience, Slow Starter is the first half of the game, you get half XP, but twice as much after. Dream Training is you get XP when you go to bed. Optimistic is your mood never worsens. Mood is a mechanic in the game that kind of affects your character's power, however it's a bit more unfelt. It's kind of like a thing at the back of the mind rather than a felt mechanic. And here's more experience. This is an interesting one. Equip requirement minus 15%. Say you needed 10 strength to equip a weapon, now you don't need more than 9. Can be handy, but it's not the most felt of the traits. Not too sure what I'm gonna go forward here. I guess I could ask, what weapon do people think I should play in this run? So we do have the chat active. Fan, right? That'll make my life a bit hard, but we can do it. A staff of sorts, not a staff of sorts. Okay, well, we had Fan, and then Doc says play the hardest, which in my opinion would be Fan. Okay. So we'll do Fan. To make it a bit easier on myself then, I will go Perfect Adaptation. This way I can make use of the Fan giving me short value, and then use Dagger and Pen skills alongside it. This gives me 5 leftover points. And just as a default, I tend to like to get at least a bit of medical in my runs to start off. Medical is used quite frequently for different skill checks throughout the game. If you want, you could do something like Short Mastery in this case, in which case would help me do a bit more damage and get my be able to use higher level skills faster. But that's basically what I would recommend, either one of the masteries of the weapons or medical. You can also go Tox, but as I'll show much later down, getting toxicology early is not necessarily the best option. So we have the traits sorted out here and the weapon. I'll go down to items real quick. So items here are unlocked as you also get achievements. I mean, I didn't really say this before, but achievements points. This game is gated behind achievements. As you play additional runs, you get more achievements for the game, and those achievements allow you to play future runs with more benefits, with more boons. And so here, the starting items, you get some throwing stones, you get a bunch of different like side items. So here are food items. You get a main, a sweets option. Here's a healing powder, energy powder for your MP. And then here is really important to know in this game is that this game is very affinity based and rapport based. So getting items like these gifts can really help you out in unlocking either different quest points or just getting different benefits from the different characters. So I usually like starting with the tea, the makeup, and usually the soup or the wine. And the reason for it is that wine is a very common gift that you need, and 2 people you want to get rapport in on the first zone are the people that want tea leaves and this cosmetic. So that's kind of what my thought process is for starting a fresh account. I generally want to take these 3 because gifts can be very strong for helping you get people on your team. Okay, I think I just about wrapped up the items. So here I'm going to actually go allocate the points here for the different stat profiles. The points you can allocate here are also achievable playing the game through certain actions. Strength is something you get more points while performing more like gathering skills, so mining, fishing, etc. Constitution, you get more points of through eating food. Dexterity, you get points through just walking passively. Intelligence, you get points through using incense and praying. And luck is something you get through appraising items, mostly. And so in terms of point allocation in this menu, given that there are some that are significantly easier to accumulate in-game points of, you oftentimes want to make your allocation such that you get rid of the obnoxious ones that you don't want to get yourself in-game later out of the way first. So in my case, I absolutely hate doing Constitution because I don't care to eat 5 million hamburgers. Next to that is usually Dex in terms of difficulty. The rate at which Dex experience accumulates is very slow. At this point already, I'm going to take a long time to get the last 3 points I need. However, it'll still be fine to not have to do anything. If I really wanted to, I could probably go 1 off Constitution, and I'd likely get the last point for Constitution passively. But even then, I tend to not eat food too much in my playthroughs, so I'm not going to really risk it and just go full max Constitution. Strength, you end up maxing really quickly passively through playing the game. Intelligence and luck can be farmed pretty easily. So in that case, this is my recommendation for kind of min-maxing the starting stat profile. Of course, I did not do this on my first playthrough, and it kind of makes you feel weaker than if you went something that actually favored, say, the weapon you chose or whatever be it. In this case, I'm still somewhat favored since the fan is a dex weapon, so I still have some amount of affinity with that. But otherwise, it's not necessarily the most enjoyable experience if you don't know what you're doing and you just kind of want a fun first time and not necessarily as much a min-maxed first time. But given that I'm trying to do so much, I do want to give myself a bit of a jump later on when things get difficult. And so we can go next here. And here you'll see that the official name is Shrimp Vinegar. And I had gotten a couple options for the name I wanted to use. Sky Pear one. Which one's that one? Is that Tianli? Okay, we'll do Tianli. Gu. Okay, and I'm gonna absolutely murder all the tones that show up in this game, but that's alright. Okay, let's get rid of this. We'll get going. Alright. Start the adventure. Oh, also, home base progress cross-saving. There's something later on that you'll get as a home base, and this is an option you can enable or disable before creating a character that will shape whether that is cross-save. So there is a way in the game to basically transfer over some resources, but that's much later on, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So I'll finally start the adventure.
朝廷党争不断，国力日渐衰退，北方燕国势力趁虚而入，导致狼烟四起，民不聊生。各地权贵袖手旁观，趁乱拉拢江湖势力，割据一方。因此，大大小小的门派都被卷入江湖纷争之中，一场江湖危机就此拉开序幕。
Alright, that's the first cutscene, the introduction. And yes, like I said, this game does not have official translations, so everything's going to be mostly in Chinese for cutscenes. Handsome young constable. When I handle a crime investigation bureau case, I get the job done, no matter what. Old masked woman. The famous crime investigation bureau constable. Just a bunch of empty threats. Achoo! Okay, I'm not going to commentate everything, but yes, the main character outs himself through a sneeze. Cold masked woman. Yeah, we will be we'll be going the cold masked woman route. So, kind of. All right, so now we're in the game. So you start off with the question of, do you save the cold masked woman or the handsome young constable? Um, I was read that as I was chatting with some Gen Z something. Also, yes, to your earlier comment, backstabs are very effective. That's the case in a lot of these games where you want to generally either attack from the side or behind for damage bonus. So, of course, they give you the more explicit decision of clicking on the two characters. However, lesser known, there's a shrine. And yes, you can pray in the middle of this dilemma, because why not? There's always time to pray. That's very threatening. All right. So basically, that's a little useless bit of information. But we'll go ahead and choose the cold masked woman. Actually, I might read these. It's unwise to leave her here. She will surely spill our whereabouts, and given my injuries, we'd be defenseless against more pursuers. Her? He's a she? Wouldn't it be a bad idea leaving her alone here? Are you trying to be a gentleman or something? She's from the Crime Investigation Bureau. A mere token of kindness won't earn you any mercy from her. So what do you suggest we do? Escort this wretch to the temple and keep a close eye on her. If the Crime Investigation Bureau comes, having a hostage might just make them reconsider any hasty moves. Why do you both harbor such deep hatred for each other? This wretch has repeatedly ruined my plans, making me lose face in front of my peers. Now that she's in my hands, I can't let her off easily. Should I agree to her suggestion? And in this case, nope. I'm not like you. I don't belong to any sect and only have simple self-taught martial arts skills. If she recovers and breaks free, I'm afraid I won't be able to handle her. I hadn't considered that. If she launches a sudden attack when we're unprepared, it could indeed become troublesome. Just leave her in this wilderness to suffer. Whether she lives or dies depends on her own fate. Let's leave as soon as possible. This place is quite remote. I doubt anyone will be able to find me. I'm running on fumes here, but you seem to be fine. How is your injury? I'm doing okay. Thank you for helping me. My name is Hua Qingqing, a disciple of the Swallow Nest. I'm Gu Tian Li. Nice to meet you. Why is the Crime Investigation Bureau labeling you a thief? That has nothing to do with you. I suggest minding your own business. I want to give you a reward for saving me back there. I have 3 internal technique manuals. Choose one to enhance your skills. Which one should I choose? The Armor Breaker Manual, a Yang-style internal strength, increases damage. Wave Rider Technique, Yin-style internal strength, increases speed. Revitalization Technique, balanced internal strength, recovers HP. Do we have a preference? Let's do quickly. You want me to do Rave Rider? Wave Rider? Okay, we'll do Wave Rider technique. While these aren't top-tier internal technique manuals, they surpass the ordinary ones circulating in the martial arts world. And then you will go on to never find anything worse than the ones they give you. Oh, I should have probably gone through that tutorial. I want to see if I can replay that. It's getting late. Let's just spend a night in this temple. Are you serious? Sleeping here? It's dirty and messy, and there are spider webs. What if a mouse crawls on me in the middle of the night? How can a grown man be so delicate? When you're away from home, you naturally have to endure all kinds of hardships. It's good enough to have a place to sleep. Shut up and go sleep on that straw mat over there. I'm going to start healing my injuries. Don't disturb me for 3 shichen. So, I think yeah, okay. So here's a tutorial. I'm not going to skip this one. Make do with your surroundings. To survive in Jianghu means adapting to harsh environments. And so here's just the guide for how to sleep. Resting allows you to recover stamina quickly. The longer you rest, the more you'll recover. However, outdoors, you may get exposed to minor ailments such as catching a cold. And then game time. So here's the fun part. This uses the Chinese timekeeping system where you use shichen and ke. And so a shichen is basically 2 hours and a ke is 15 minutes. And the shichen are named after the 12 Chinese zodiacs. And so it's pretty easy to kind of follow once you get that down. You get 8 ke in a shichen, and that's because you have 8 15-minute blocks in 2 hours. I am the snake. I don't know what the snake is in Chinese. We can... Snake, zodiac, Chinese name. It says sh, which I think is this one. Not too sure. Okay. So basically, that's how the time is measured in this game, and it's pretty fun. Can I access the tutorials? Kind of annoying. Actually, maybe if I go into the menu. Let's skip that tutorial. Okay, well, we'll go through the menu, and I'll explain what you see. This is the character menu. Pretty evidently, it shows you all your character stats. On the left-hand side, you'll have your party. For a reminder, your animal, your pet, does not show up in the party menu. They are in the real world, so you can't see them here. But members are going to be shown here. Next to that, you have your profile. It shows your level, your equipment, your XP. In this case, a small description of the character. In this case, Vinegar Shrimp is just a little shrimp stepping into the martial world. The future is unknown and anything is possible. These are your morals at the bottom. So they're split into benevolence, righteous, propriety, trust, wisdom, and courage. So benevolence is how you help others. At max benevolence, you get the harmless trait, which means that wild animals don't attack you. And then at the max negative of benevolence, basically all non-boss characters who are 15 levels lower will run away from you, which is actually really annoying. Righteous is basically kind of like, I guess, standing up for the little guy. Yeah, self-sacrifice. At max stacks, you get 25% increased relations when making relations better, and then at least stacks or at the lower bound, you get self XP doubled, but teammates are halved. Propriety is the respect of others' property mostly. So this comes in not stealing people's things. Um, and so at max level, you get a bonus to your relationship with people depending on your fame. And this is kind of funny. At the minimum level, when you hurt relations with others, it only happens by half of the effect. Trustworthy, yeah, pretty straightforward. Basically, when you keep your word, increases the value at max stacks of your items during trade, and then at the negative stacks, you sell for more. So trade is basically bartering, whereas selling is when you trade for win. Wisdom, basically how smart you are. You get intelligence at the max end and luck at the lower end. It's kind of a joke. No, she will not starve. I already made dinner. She's just not going out for dinner. Courage is basically, yeah, fearlessness and adventurousness. Um, your team gets stronger at the higher bound, and at the lower bound, when you have more teammates, you get more damage. Here is your stat profile we saw earlier. So here we have the 10 Constitution, 7 Dex. Here are your pills. Throughout the game, you'll get attribute pills, and you can take up to 5 of them per character, and they'll permanently increase that attribute. Now we have attack and defense, which are basic stats. Kind of dictates your damage and your damage reduction. Your Qinggong is your like evasion. It dictates your ability to move as well. Action speed is basically how often you attack. And then we have all of the weapon categories: fist, sword, blade, long, short, musical. Accuracy, the ability for you to not be evaded. Or I guess evasion is a separate category, but they're often tied with Qinggong or tied to Qinggong. Um, your critical, which is similar to other games, just increased damage, in this case 50% without any other effects. Parry is reduced damage taken. And then it also gives critical prevention. Medical and toxicology are for basically medicine and poison, and they allow you different skill checks in the game and can affect the level of the skills labeled. So heal, regen, and poison and detoxify. Throwing is a consumable type of weapon that is used up after using it. So rather than using a martial arts book, you use consumables. It is currently usually considered the strongest weapon in the game, although it's so obnoxious in my opinion, I've never really gone down a throwing route. Combo is the chance of hitting twice in a row essentially. So once you use an attack, depending on your percent of combo, is your chance of attacking with the same skill again. Knowledge is kind of like it's a stat that helps you just kind of like overall, depending on how knowledgeable you are relative to the enemy. It kind of compounds on the other stats. And then counter is basically, rather than parry that reduces damage taken, counter is another defensive stat that allows you to attack afterwards. So in these stats, I generally like combo and counter the most. They're both luck based for the most part, as you know from the blessed heart luck trait. But these two are generally my favorite mechanics in the game to kind of opt into. On the right side, we have our statuses. This includes our traits, and then any debuffs. In this case, our stamina is so low that we are exhausted. Here we go to our items. They're separated into these little tabs: equipments. You have your weapons, your armors, your accessories, and then your pet gear. In this case, we start out with a folding fan and rugged clothes. Manuals are basically where all your martial arts go. Here we have the Wave Rider we just received, so I'll confirm that. And we'll see in the martial arts menu that I'm learning that. Consumables. So these are items that you can use. Food, medicines, and appraisals and recipes belong here. So the wine, which we will use mostly for just as a gift, will also give you drunken effects, and in that case, decreasing accuracy, increasing crit. Some characters will have special effects while drunk, so that's something you might want to look out for in the future. Material, these are kind of like your gathering items. Ingredients, so this is going to be your rice, your wheat, that kind of thing that you can use for cooking. Meat is pretty obvious. When you kill an animal, it drops its meat. You can buy meat from butchers. Aquatic or fish, fish and fish related items. Herbs are herbs you can gather from plants. They're used mostly for either medicines or poisons and pills. Ore, pretty straightforward. You mine ore, you can use that to create tools and armor and weapons. Same thing for wood, just hit a tree until it gives you its bark. And then other is where like quest items might go, and things that don't necessarily have a known use outside of these categories. So things like appliances, which we'll see later, gifts are generally under this category. Here's a list of all your maps. When we get a map, I'll show you what it looks like in the game, but here's where you can see all your maps collected. And then here's other. Oh, so here's actually the gifts. So I'm not sure what goes in the material other. So this is what I was more so talking about for the material other, is this. So here are your gifts. You get your treasures, your throwing, important items, your quest items, poisons, and other. So we'll find out. I misspoke about this one. We'll find out what that is later. Here in the martial arts, you can see your learned martial arts. Their level martial arts go to 10 levels. They have different rarities. This is a rare with the blue. Purple is an epic. Orange is a legendary. And then there's like a I don't remember exactly what the name is. It's something along the lines of like unbeatable, or yeah, like another name for like without competition, and that's going to be a red manual, which is, we'll get to that when we see it. But for the most part, there are blue, purple, and orange manuals, and orange is generally going to be the strongest you can get. Here's the passive tree. So you can get different effects for each of your characters, for your non-pet characters, that give different traits. So these small nodes will give you basically the minor stat effects. So like in this case, action speed, combo, and then these large nodes will give you traits. So in this case, head start. At the start of battle, initial action points increase by 100. So in this case, this will mean you will more likely fight first in battles. And wind is focused around movement. It's focused around attacking often and basically attacking rapidly. So you have dex-based stuff, combo-based stuff, movement. So in this case, you can walk after attacking. A bunch of that kind of idea is in the wind category. Mountain is going to be your defense, your damage reduction, damage immunity, and yeah, basically you can get a bit of damage amp yourself as well here. Fire is your base damage one. You get crit chance here, and then just a bunch of damage amp. You can get splash damage, attack twice in one turn, and then like guaranteed crit, for instance. Forest is like mountain. It's defensive, but it's a bit more reactive defense rather than just pure defense. So you'll see stuff like you get critical reduction, key increase while attacked. So the more you're attacked, the more likely you will attack next. You can get damage transfer. So this is really strong. You take reduced damage, and the damage is instead dispersed to enemies. You can get reflect damage entirely. and just more energy and spirit while being attacked. Yin is very much so a counter idea. It focuses a lot on negative effects. So in this case, when you counter, you reduce enemy action speed. Each time you are attacked, your counter chance increases. When you trigger counter, you get additional spirit and chi. Here, your effects on you are reduced by 50% of these negative traits. And then the last one is your traits are doubled, and you decrease the opponent's chi when you trigger them. The last one here we have is Thunder. Thunder is kind of like fire, but it's a bit less crit focused in terms of the smaller nodes, instead going for accuracy for hitting accurately. And they do have crit nodes here, increased crit damage, crit increases on non-crit. Here you get increased final damage on consecutive hits. You get spirit when hitting, and then consecutive hits make the opponent weaker and your damage higher. And so that's kind of the idea between all these trees. I do see Imp saying we want to do Yin. We can do a bit of Yin, I think is fine. But one thing that's nice is that for your own character, this tree is able to be reallocated at any time, and as many times as you'd like. However, it's a lot more difficult to do it for your companions, so be very careful on your ally trees. If you do allocate points into their trees, they will come with their trees at least partially filled. Here are skills. These are skills we use in game, and there will be checks against them as we play. So we have here the pick skills. This is going to be your mining, woodcutting, gathering, fishing, and worm catching. Basically all the skills related to getting resources. Creating is going to be weaponsmithing, armor smithing, cooking, alchemy, and tool crafting. These are your creative ones. Your appraisals, your identifies are going to be your artwork, your book, your antique, accessory, and medicine. So this is from getting different items from basically unidentified ones. Life skills are basically going to be how you relate to other characters. So persuade, mercantile. So persuade is with in combat. So you increase your allies' attributes in combat. Mercantile is to do with buying and trading or selling. Explore is how much Jonghu knowledge you get when getting new zones. And Jonghu knowledge can be used to basically rare candy, in the Pokemon sense, your skills so that they level up faster. Pathfinding is just when going from place to place, you do it more efficiently and quicker. This is like hard to level up, but very nice. And then beast taming is the last one here. Basically, it's your strength of your pets and the access to which animals you can talk to and tame. Mark it here at the bottom. These are kind of your dirtier skills. We have your steal, your immobilize, poison, machinery, and ambush. Machinery here is very important. That allows you to open chests without keys. And it's generally not something that you'll get punished for doing. We will find lots of animals. Funny enough, the PC version does not have the animal I usually use. I usually use a mechanical bull, which is a mobile exclusive. But we can look at the different choices here. We will be starting with the chicken, because the chicken is the first one we get access to, and there are quests you can do early on with the chicken. So we will start with the chicken. Here in the Relations tab, you will get to see, yes, quite foul. You'll see exactly your relationship with all the characters you've met that keep track of you. So you'll have, this will expand as you meet more types of people, but starting out, we have the sects. We have Swallow Nest, which is the thief sect, and then the Crime Investigation Bureau, which is the cop sect, the police force. And so we will see here that we are in opposition. That means that they will not like us and I believe opposition, they will fight us on sight. And I will show how to fix this, because of course you can't reason with someone with a blade in hand. So we will need to get a mediator, and we can do that pretty early on. But I will have to outline how we do that, as we will actually join the Crime Investigation Bureau a bit later on. Here we have Wandering Martial Artists. This is basically just another category where people who have no affiliations go. Journal is basically keeps track of your quests, your story quests. These can be highlighted, and once they are, they'll show up on the left side. You can have up to 3 at a time. Rumors are basically things that aren't quests themselves, but it might be check out this location, and then if you go there, you might be able to find a chest or something. There are kind of tidbits of information that you can use to get small Easter eggs found around. Bounties are basically, there's a bounty board. You can select bounties from it. You can have 3 at a time, and completing them will get you rewards with the bounty board. Archive is basically all completed of these, and it will tell you if you've completed them successfully or if they finished halfway. So journal is used very frequently to kind of manage what you're trying to do. We will start by exploring the zone here. Yes, I understand that sect has a interesting sound alike when said plural. Very funny. So in this room, we can see that there are a couple things we can touch. Here we have revival pills stored in this like incense burner kind of thing. I don't know exactly what this is. We can take a look at that item. Revival pills. Nope. Can't. Gets rid of near-death status, which I don't know if we can get on this difficulty, but this is something that's more impactful on the higher difficulties. Oh lordy, what is going on? Here on the ground, we can find incense sticks, which can be used at altars. And here, there is a spooter. And go ahead and sleep now, as that's basically it. These candles can be turned off. Of course, that's purely visual, not really reason to it. So I will actually save first. I usually just name my saves the character name. So in this case, Gu Tianli. And then we will sleep and hope we don't catch a cold. And if we do catch a cold, I will revert back, but we did not. How did you sleep? This place is not as good as an inn. I wouldn't be surprised if you catch a cold. Well, Ching is definitely hungry. I'm hungry. Go find some food in the nearby forest. I wonder what kind of wild game might be in the forest. Are there any poisonous insects or wild beasts? I don't know if I can handle them. What kind of beast can there be in such a tiny forest? Stop being a coward. If you don't want to starve, go now. Alright, I'll do my best. So actually, I'm going to go in the settings. I'm going to change something, because this is getting pretty annoying. Here we can go down. We can switch to 1.5 game speed. This will make things feel a bit nicer playing. We won't be as slow. So now if we move around, we'll be slightly faster than before, and I believe that also affects the dialogue. Now we'll head out of the dilapidated temple.